Ladies and gentlemen, this is week 12 of Zesty's Best Bets. Welcome back. Hope you did well last week. I think both of our bettors did about just over 500 last week, as we've been hitting all season long. We're right at that 55% mark. Actually, Zest has fallen just below that, but we're going to get back on track this week, right, Zesty? Starting with your favorite, the Commanders. Tell me why they're going to win on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've had two rough weeks. Last week was definitely better. I was absent, but going into the holiest of holy rivalries here, Danny DeVito just kicked our shit in. So I think we're going to come back, play a little better. Very possible Ron Rivera gets let go after this game, so he has many things to be thankful of. But then, as I dove in deeper, Dallas is 1-11 against the spread in Thanksgiving since 2010. They play every year. They don't cover every year. Washington just got embarrassed. It's a divisional game. They'll segue into the Packers-Lions game, but Dallas is always the most heavily or top 3-4 heavily bet teams. The line's inflated. They probably are 11 points better, but yeah, I don't see it getting there. I don't see 6 turnovers. I mean, I know the Cowboys are much better than the Giants, but I'm a big believer in the NFL. If you get your ass beat, back them the next week. Typically, it is profitable. Whether or not they win, highly doubtful. But like I said, there's a strong trend that Dallas and Dak specifically don't cover the line on Turkey Day.
Is Sam Howell healthy? I know he went down maybe for only a couple plays last game.
To my knowledge, he's healthy, but even if Jacoby Brissett has to play, I don't see a huge drop-off. I mean, the number will change for sure, but he's more than capable, but I believe Howell's fine.
I think Howell's decent. I mean, he can at least throw the ball. More than can be said about a lot of quarterbacks in this league lately.
Like I said, it would not shock me one bit if Ron's let go. The other tidbit, I was messing around. Washington has the most points scored against them. Everybody thinks they got a good defense. Their defense is shit. They have 2 defensive-minded coaches with the defensive coordinator and the head coach. They can't stop anybody. I still I don't believe that's going to necessarily factor too much. Dallas tries to run away with shit. Yeah, like I said, if you get your shit pushed in, I back you the next week. So it's not a homer pick at all because I could care less at this point. They're going to lose out. Looking at their schedule, I don't think they have more than 1 win left for the week or the year. So
no, I see the bounce back angle and just making it enough of a game. They also, I think, play into this just seemingly like they always do, where Washington's going to make this their fucking season, playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. And the Cowboys don't always necessarily match that energy.
Yeah, going to that, I mean, if you actually look at, obviously, I watched about 8 minutes of the game Sunday. I was disgusted. Had other games that I was a little more interested in, but the Giants always play Washington pretty tough. Religiously, obviously, they had the 2 sweeps. Washington plays Philly tough consistently. In Washington and Dallas, Sam Howell specifically, small sample size, but he has kind of, well, I guess that'd be one game, so I won't go that route. But last time he played Dallas, he played pretty damn good. So
There's one game. Betting public, tell me why the one game don't matter.
Well, I'm obviously coming at it from a completely biased standpoint as well. So we'll do our best to try and remove that through the analysis. What I think we have here is an 11-point line that is probably inflated. I would love if we could get some buyback action on the Commanders and maybe get it back down to 10 or 9.5. But unfortunately, everybody loves to bet on the Cowboys, so that is definitely not likely to happen. Dallas is a much better team here. That being said, I do think that there's validity in the divisional aspect because of the familiarity. There's also a problem there. And Washington, while not, not maybe the most impressive, they were able to run the ball because of Robinson Jr., and that's one area where Dallas's defense isn't as strong. So if they can actually get a lead and have the game script go in their favor, then there's problems here. There's also a chance that Dallas plays pretty well, like they did against Carolina, but kind of half-asses it there at the end. And minus a pick six leaves the door wide open for backdoor cover with the Foreskins involved. So I just think Dallas's defense is going to do enough here. Sam Howell's got 12 picks on the year, and I think he likely finishes this game with at least 13, maybe 14. And Dallas is able to get enough stops, and Dak's just been absolutely out of his fucking mind lately. So he'll overcome his Thanksgiving shortcomings of past. And now it is time.
well, I think he had 6 picks last week, so can't really count that. He got his picks out of the way. One last little tidbit on this, Bill, Mr. Pedalstash Vinovich, most profitable referee for the away team of all the referees. So I'm not telling you to throw a sprinkle, but he does have a history of this year road dogs winning.
I like the referee consistencies or inconsistencies, whatever you want to call them. Now we're going to move on to another Thanksgiving game. The Packers. You're back in the Packers, and they're in Detroit. Another classic Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, last week, I don't know if I put it on the sheets or not, but I had the Bears. Detroit, they are very trendy. People like to bet them. They're fun to watch. They're fun to root for. At least the last 4 weeks, they've been overvalued. I'm not sure what their ATS is, but I think they're continuing to get inflated lines. Jordan Love, everybody wants to kind of poo-poo on, but he's got better statistics than Jalen Hurts, or at least very comparable. 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. He's got more yards. I've watched Green Bay the last 3-4 weeks pretty heavily, and they are clicking. Not great, but they're not as bad as they were at the beginning of the year. Detroit did just come off of an emotional comeback victory. Short week. I know it's a short week for Green Bay too, but the game script didn't quite get out of hand for Green Bay. I think 7.5's a little much. It's interesting. Some of these the 2 games I jumped on, there hasn't been much movement, but the rest of them moved pretty substantial. Kind of concerns me, but like I said, I think it's because Detroit and Dallas are such public heavy betting teams that they're willing to back those numbers. I don't see it coming back for the fear of the buyback at like a 6.5 or a 10 versus 11.5, 8 kind of thing. So if you do like those numbers, you're more than likely going to get potentially a better number later versus the number going your other way.
Betting public, any thoughts about this Lions team? I have a feeling that, the Lions are going to take care of business on Thanksgiving. Just because they just got scared by the Bears like that, but did come back. They got the win. And they just have a lot of good energy right now. And the Packers have been rolling too, but the Packers just aren't a strong team. I think the Lions are.
I mean, this is another divisional matchup on Thanksgiving, so I think it plays tight. I can't trust Green Bay. I know that they beat the Chargers last week, but fuck, the Chargers are embarrassing. I don't know that you learned a whole lot about Green Bay from that game, considering how bad the Chargers have been on defense this year and making plays. They made Jordan Love look a lot better than I think he's looked most of the year. But Lions also have shown that they're fully willing to let you just keep pace with them and keep the score high. So I think that whoever has the ball last here probably wins if it's the Lions. And the Packers probably get in a position where they're trying to come back from behind. So definitely a lot of room for a backdoor cover and possible that they just keep it close regardless.
Yeah, I guess the referee side of things, he's pretty about down the middle. Split on over-unders, split on home aways. So I don't think.
See, the league doesn't want. They have no interest in this game. They just want it to play out how it plays out.
Yeah, like I said, 7.5 is just the number. It's tough to. I sure as hell wouldn't bet against the hook. But like I said, this could be. What is it? So a lot of Thanksgiving games specifically over the last couple of years have played to the under, which makes the 7.5 even more valuable with potential points being at a premium. I think Detroit plays a little different. That's not so much of an outlier. They seem to like to play shootout games, but we shall see.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to watch. Always like watching the Lions on Thanksgiving, and they're rarely good. So the fact that they're decent at all this year is an improvement. Pick number 3 on your list is the Pittsburgh Steelers under 34.5. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
By the way, they're in Cincinnati, and we all know Joey Burrow out for the year. So.
Yeah, divisional game. This might be a rare game that Pittsburgh actually outgains somebody and still wins. Games. Let's see, where did I write my notes here? So when the total's under 37, the under is hitting like 19-4. Might be 20-4 now, but so 37 is kind of a magic number. 34 is scary, I guess, but there might be 10 possessions in this game, so I don't know. I
believe that there might be 10 possessions in this game.
I went back and forth. I almost had Pittsburgh, but I just feel the total's better bet because even if one of these teams do reach 17 points, I don't think the other team is going to get 17 points. Probably going to have a very similar script as last week. Cleveland's defense is better, but Pittsburgh's offense is still pretty bad, and Cincinnati does push the pocket. They're more zone-based defense, but Kenny Pickett can't hit an open guy. So the fact that they're going to watch him, I would be concerned with the potential defensive score to push a total over. But like I said, I think it's going to be possession, field position, stalled out drives, field goals, especially with your boy Bosman calling out Matt Canada. I know you heard that he was all excited about the win, and he's like, not that you had anything to do with it. And then, of course, they let him go. But
now they canned him today.
Yeah, times are tough when the kicker's talking shit to you. So that's how I see it. Divisional.
Truly. Yeah, it's going to be ugly. The Steelers are going to likely win this game. But, I mean, who is the Cincinnati's backup quarterback? You guys are going to have to look that up. Well, I just tell you why I think the Steelers at least score 10 points and win here. But I do think you'll hit that under very safely because the Steelers' defense is pretty good. Their offense is really bad. And there's just no reason for Cincinnati to have any faith in their offense. They weren't that good with Joe Burrow.
I agree. The quarterback, his name's eluding me, but he was a kid out of Washington a couple years ago. Not great, not terrible.
Jake Browning.
Yeah, Browning.
Yeah, so we'll see. Any thoughts on this game, betting public, before we move along?
Yeah, no, I like the Steelers here. I think that they're going to do pretty well in this game. They got some fire your coach energy, which is always nice. People seem to be coming back from that positive this year. So if they can dial up some of that Buffalo, reinstate your offense after you fire your offensive coordinator type shit, then maybe they get just enough here to pull it out. And I don't think that threatens your total because I do think Cincinnati struggles without Burrow, but we shall see.
All right, next on the list is the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray. You're getting a point. It's a pick 'em right now. And it's the Rams. They're at home. They're in. No, they're in Phoenix.
Yeah, I think the Kyler Murray effect is something. Everybody's loving Josh Dobbs, but Murray is a substantial better quarterback. They've played pretty well. Played the Texans tough last week. They had a chance to win, but their defense is playing well too. The Rams did have a divisional win last week, but Stafford is a tough son of a bitch, but he did get destroyed. The Rams still can't run the ball very well. Their defense is lackluster. I just think it's a good opportunity. Back-to-back road or divisional games. Neither one of them necessarily have anything to play for. I think the Cardinals have the better quarterback, and he wants to keep his job, so he ain't allowing them to get the first pick. He's going to get paid regardless, but I think it's a good opportunity for the Cardinals. Nothing the Rams do impresses me too much. Plus, Cooper Kupp, very possible he's out, which it matters, but the Rams are kind of a mess, which tough to say a team that just won a divisional game, but against the Seahawks that were playing for first place. So maybe I'm overlooking them, but I think it's a good opportunity. Kind of a sandwich spot here.
Puka Nakua may be out too. And, even with those guys, they're just not – they're decent, but they're not the strongest receiving core. They certainly don't have the strong backfield. And they don't protect Stafford. He definitely took a few huge shots last week that I saw. So you're right about that. Betting public, what do you think about the Rams?
I tend to agree with Zest here. I think the Cardinals are a good pick. Kyler Murray's been looking good since he came back. I'm of the belief that he doesn't really give a fuck if Arizona pays him next year or somebody else does, but he's going to make sure that he puts reasons on film for somebody else to whip out the checkbook if Arizona decides that they want to go on to either Drake May or old Caleb Williams, whoever they may end up being able to select. But Arizona just looking good. Rams in a little bit of disarray. I agree with what he said. Cup being out is a problem, and Stafford is beat up to all hell. So it's going to be some tough sledding there. Arizona's at home. I like the pick.
Yeah, it's we got some interesting splits here on the official here. Home teams 1-8, so that's not looking great for us. But he's one of the most profitable dog officials. But yeah, the home teams do not do well under him, so he doesn't give a fuck about the crowd.
Matter of fact, maybe he does give too many fucks about the crowd. But we won't speculate on any referees further, other than what you tell us, because I do like those notes. Moving on to the Texans-Jags over. And it looks like if that number that's in the sheet is correct, you got them at 45.5. And I'm showing every book I'm showing, it's like 48 and a half. So
yeah, I
might have snuck away with one here.
Yeah, as soon as it came out, I mean, it was the second slate of Sunday that I made the bet. I fell short. 45 is short. Obviously, it's now up to damn near 49. I mean, that's insane. That much movement. There wasn't any injuries of note that I can remember. The Jags look good. Texans play good offense.
People are starting to believe in C.J. Stroud and the T.J. Lawrence boy.
Yeah. Nico Collins, if you have an opportunity to get him in your fantasy squad, he's, worth fourth-round pick, if more. Yeah, it's divisional. I could see it playing tight, but both of these defenses, I think the Jags last week were in the top 5 for takeaways. Houston just doesn't turn the ball over. To that, Houston doesn't take the ball away either as frequently. Jaguars don't give it away, I think. Like I said, I think the 45.5 was too short. Movement is shown to be correct, at least. So I think there's going to be very few not offensive possessions, scores. I can see 21, 20, 24, 27-ish, late field goal. Now they could both be in the 30s and it could be a barn burner.
Yeah, you'll get no resistance from me. I think I see what everyone sees here. All that offense from the last few weeks for both of these teams. So hopefully it keeps going. I'll be watching, waiting, betting public. You riding along with this overcall? You fading?
I could get it at 45.5. I'd definitely be all over it. I'm seeing it offshore at around 48. So that gives me a little pause, only because it is a divisional game. So there's going to be some familiarity there with the defenses. They might play a little bit tighter than they typically would in an out-of-division game. Jacksonville, though, I mean, look, they looked good last week against the Titans. Titans kind of made them look good. You got to remember 2 weeks ago that they put up 3 fucking points against an actual good team in San Francisco. So I think that there's a chance that the 48 is just a number that they can't reach. Obviously, we're coming down to a field goal there between what you got it at and what it's currently at. But I do think it puts it into question a little bit in terms of the line. This is now Texans +2 is what I'm seeing. So as I think it opened, didn't it open at Pick'em or Jacksonville -1? Seems like people are driving up the over and driving up the Jags. So I'm not so confident in the Jags. But, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, going to be fun to watch. Hopefully we see a lot of that offense.
Yeah, so of Clay Martin's 9 games that he's officialed, he's 6-2-1 to the over. He likes points. I tend to agree with Public here. I think 48.5, that's a bad number. I don't see it trending much higher. It's possible it gets back to under 48. I would consider an over for anything under 48 points. I think 48 and up, you start to look at an under bet or lay off it.
That line's already moved a ton.
Yeah, it's definitely coming down. It's not more than likely coming up. It might fluctuate a little bit, but if it gets under 48, I would see. If it gets to 49, I see the buyback coming down to get it to 47. My guess is it's going to settle about 47.5.
Double down on that referee conspiracy shit. Since this gentleman is big time homer for the over, I think we have to consider that this is one of the lowest scoring years for the NFL over the last 4 years. We're in a state of decline, average total points per game. This has 2 primetime QBs in the matchup, and I think it's highly likely that while I'm not going to say that they're telling them to do anything, I'll bet you they're in these officials' ears telling them, you guys have been calling some great fucking games. Keep doing what you're doing. And
exactly. It's not.
That'll be leading to some defensive holding whenever we need a drive to continue.
This is all just big brother mind control. It's not really like they're not doing anything. They're not really doing anything, right?
Public loves overs. Professionals love unders. But when you see an opportunity, you take it. It's way funner to root for overs until it's the third quarter and it's 3-0, and you're hating your life because you need a world record fourth quarter. You're hoping for overtime. So hopefully they get points early.
All right. No need to tell us old stories. Just teasing. San Francisco -7 is your next pick, and that's the betting public. We're on to the betting public's picks. Zesty, Texans were your last pick. And we're back on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is the late game, closing it out. It's in Seattle, so that does give me a little bit of pause here. However, Geno's banged up. Aaron Donald really fucked his ass up, and I think that Geno being banged up in this game means that Seattle's going to struggle to score even more. The one thing that I hesitate on with this is divisional game in Seattle on the road, and they play each other twice over the next 3 weeks. So it could be a case of Shanahan getting a little bit more vanilla than he might in the second matchup where he knows they're not going to see him again. However, the counterpoint to that would be got to kick Seattle while they're down, because if San Francisco loses this game, then Seattle's back into a tie for first place. So I think that San Francisco has every reason to come out cracking here. And if the Purdy man can just make more good decisions than bad, I think that San Francisco, his defense is really starting to pick it up. And even if Gino was healthy, that defensive line is fucking scary. Like, watching their games makes me feel for the other team because they hit so hard. And maybe that's just because I watch too much of San Francisco because they're always on here on the West Coast. But they've got some absolute beasts. Like, I look at Fred Warner walking around the field, and it just doesn't seem fair. And he's walking around amongst other godlike giants. So he stands out amongst the godlike giants. And Seattle, I think, just doesn't have enough firepower here to keep up.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu II, my boy Tufunga, is out for the year. That is, I don't know how much of the line it's going to move. As of last night, I saw the line is now down to 6.5. I don't know how much truth there is to that going back and forth, but I do think the Geno Smith uncertainty is one of the reasons I laid off of it. I would actually, if I had to pick, I would back Seattle in the neon greens at home, prime time, Turkey. I'll be interested to see if Jamal Adams plays. I do not think it's going to affect the line as far as the gambling line. But when he does play, he does make a difference, which I know that doesn't make much sense as far as the line, but the defense is a lot different. When he's there, he is that enforcer. It's always tough to back big dogs in a divisional game. Like I said, it is a sandwich spot to play twice in 3 weeks, I think, or 4 weeks, something like that. But as you did say, divisional games are always important, especially when first place is on the line. And that's the difference from damn near a bye or opening up 6th or 7th seed moving into the playoffs. As far as our stripe fellas there, he's pretty vanilla, back and forth. He is an under official, which would tell me that points will be at a premium, but he could still get the under and be 24-0, and they cover without a care. I do think Seattle is a bit fraudulent. This is why I did not touch the game at all. I think Pete Carroll is a good coach. He consistently gets his guys ready to play. I don't have his historical records, but watching all the damn games, I think he does play the Niners pretty tough. No bet for me. I definitely went back to 7. I would potentially, I don't see it getting to 6 either because it'll be a buyback. I think it's going to pretty much settle about 6.5. Just the other big thing, which is weird with the movement, is I think Walker's going to be out. He left the game Sunday to an abdominal strain, I believe, something of that nature. So who knows?
Yeah, I think he's already been ruled out for this week.
Yeah. Typically, I mean, I don't want to talk out of my ass here, but a lot of the times running backs don't necessarily move the line one way or the other. I think Charbonnet is more than serviceable, and is who was it, DJ Dallas. I do think they'll still be able to run as effectively as they could. I don't know how effective running against the Niners is, so I don't really see that playing that big of a deal. I don't, even if they had Walker, I don't think they were going to run the ball very well. This is going to be those 12s, those neon greens. Those are probably worth 2 points. So 24-2 might be the final. So good for you, public.
Yeah. I like this pick when I saw it on the sheet. I don't like the Niners, but their defense is undeniably strong this year. And I agree with some of what you said as far as the hyper focus. They got a lot to look forward to with their season, and this win could be a big part of that. The loss could also be a big part of that. And just the fact that the Niners are a better team than perhaps a fraudulent, like you said, Zesty Seahawk team. I do think they may be a bit of a pretender as far as just like the better teams in the league, where the Niners are just clearly a cut above this year. So moving on to the next game. And the next one we haven't talked about is the Cleveland plus 2.5.
Yep. Got the Browns coming into Denver. This one could be interesting. Rumors of snow, but they're not afraid of that from Cleveland. Total here is at 35. I like taking the points with the Browns. Denver's looked a little bit better this week and in weeks past. But that being said, Minnesota still a struggling team, and Denver just barely put them away. So I see this game playing, a little bit similar to that. And if Denver gets down here, I think it's far less likely that they're able to make a comeback because Cleveland's defense is far better than the Minnesota unit. So I see Cleveland being a good opportunity here. Now, counterpoint is DTR on the road versus at home, and rookie quarterback, not sure what you're going to get. But to me, that Cleveland defense against Russell Wilson and his aging, dilapidated ass could lead to some fun. So let's go Browns.
Like you were saying, Zesty, we all think Pete Carroll's a good coach. Russell Wilson is the prime example of that. I mean, just to be able to overcome that as your quarterback, I think says the world. Now that we see him elsewhere, it speaks even more.
The Russell Wilson slander in this cast, which is warranted when you had a year like you did last year. That's what people are going to remember. But if you actually were to do a blind resume, he's actually playing pretty well. I think a lot of that is Sean Payton keeping him out of the kitchen, ordering some takeout, if you would. Broncos have won 4 or 5 in a row. Like, they're, after getting the 70 burger put on them, their defense has actually played pretty well too. I'll be very interested to watch this game as much as I won't watch this game.
I will not be watching this game. I'll be completely honest with you.
The only reason I won't is because it's a local game, and it's a pain in the ass to watch local games. Flipping back and forth from Sunday ticket to live broadcast, and it drives me nuts that they block it out to make you watch national televised or regional televised games.
Yeah, that is irritating.
This game will go a long way in. I'll learn more about the Broncos than I will the Browns. So the Browns are going to do what they're going to do. I am probably a little higher on DTR than most. I do find it interesting that they're bringing in Flacco. He's not going to play in this game, but maybe they're not as high. They're going to run the ball. Denver, like I said, the last 4 or 5 games, they have tightened it up a little bit. but they still kind of got gashed against Minnesota on the run. That's what Cleveland's going to do. They tell you that's what they're going to do. I just don't know if they have the bodies up front to stop. You know, most of the running game is a grown man's game that we're going to run the ball and you're going to stop it or you're not going to stop it. That's why it can be so demoralizing. It's going to be an ugly game. As far as the weather goes, I don't necessarily believe the hype of the weather. We've had pretty decent weather locally, but the day after Thanksgiving is typically when the snow front does run in. I think I'll learn a lot more about Russell Wilson in this game than I will learn anything about the Browns. Coming off of a divisional game, I do think it's a good buy opportunity for the Broncos. Less than a field goal at home, equal rest. The official side of things, if they ever had a play in it, he's pretty much squares can be. He's 5-5 to the overs, about 6-4 to the home. So there's not. He's very unprofitable against the dogs. He is the worst dog profitable for the dogs. So say that as you go. He's that is interesting. He is 8-2 against the favorite against the spread. So less than a field goal at home. I highly doubt I'll have any action on this game, but I think I would disagree with the public here and roll with Russie.
Yeah, I'll just wrap this one up by saying, how dare you put Browns Broncos on the sheet? Never have I ever liked either one of these two teams. I think it's something to do with the orange, like as a kid, not ever trying to be an orange team in Madden. Gross.
That's what we're here for.
Find the winners where you can.
Ugly games are the best ones to bet because nobody wants to fucking bet them.
Very well said. Very well said. Well, this game should be a little less ugly, but who knows? You're back in the Chiefs, who are traveling to Las Vegas, and I see Las Vegas kind of picking up where they left off last week and keeping that ball rolling strong. But you're back in the Chiefs with a number of 9. Tell me why.
I think that the Chiefs are going to come out of that loss pissed off. Could have gone their way very easily with a couple different changes. Obviously, they had the fumble at the 5-yard line with Travis Kelce, and then key drops throughout the game. So I just think the Chiefs' offense is eventually going to get it into the 30s, and this could be the game that it happens. And there's absolutely no fucking way the Raiders are scoring 20 points on them. The Raiders, as well as they could last week with Tua giving them opportunities with some short fields and the Dolphins having some turnovers, kept that game close when the Dolphins were really in pretty much full control for most of it. Yeah, even though the score didn't reflect the fact that they were in such control. So I think that the Chiefs are better than the Dolphins, both on defense and will be able to execute better on offense and eliminate the turnovers that plagued the Dolphins last week against the Raiders. And I still don't trust Aiden O'Connell, rookie QB. He's going to fuck it up. And you give Pat Mahomes some short fields. It's not going to go well for you.
I want a large farm. Tell me when a large farm is going to get it done, Zesty.
Yeah, so the Raiders are an interesting team to cap. You got Josh McDaniels, Raiders, and Antonio Pierce is now. This is game 4. Completely 2 different teams, which tells you how much they liked McDaniels or just how terrible of a coach McDaniels actually is. The offense Still a lot to be desired. Large Farva, he's not going to move the needle one way or the other. But Kansas City, second half, they can't score at all. I think the last 10 games, it's been 10 unders on the second half. Getting 9 in a divisional game on the road, it's not a number I would touch. Don't love the number. Don't love Kansas City, honestly. Their defense is doing well, but they're, I don't know, maybe they're partying too hardy or something. I don't quite get Kansas City. They might be the best, what are they, 2-loss or 3-loss team. But there's a lot to be desired, especially when you have a $500 million quarterback that just doesn't seem as magical. I don't know if they're playing around. The fact that Andy Reid lost off a bye kind of tells you Kansas City's, I mean, that used to be automatic coming off a bye. They just steamroll teams. That being said, playing the Raiders is typically a good buyback spot. This is at 9. I wouldn't touch it. I don't see it coming off of 9. I don't really see any way I'd play this other than the total. And I would probably, without knowing the total, I would lean to the under, which the official is a over official. He loves overs, so that might be beneficial. And he's very profitable for favorites too. So, I mean, public, you're on the trending side of things, I guess. It's just a number I don't really like at all.
I love to hear both of those things. And I love to hear it just because I probably will be watching this game. So want to see some points, want to see some Chiefs points. I do wonder what's going on with the Chiefs as well. Like, they're just getting too comfortable with themselves. There's some kind of switch that they think can be flipped on at some point, and we've all seen them turn on that switch, so maybe they do believe in that.
Yeah, I think I'd have to fact check myself, but I think the Raiders have only scored over 20 once all year, and that was when they beat the piss out of the Giants. But other than that, I think they're struggling to get 3 scores a game. So that, like I said, that's if I had to take a side, I probably would lean with the public here. But 9 is just such an ugly number that I wouldn't touch it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, you were pretty close on that one. They got to 21 against the Pats as well. But other than that, they have been below 20 in each game. So that's kind of flows with my thinking. But as you said, divisional matchup could get crazy.
All right, moving on to the last pick on the board for the NFL. Well, I'm sorry, we've got one more after that. So we'll go to the Ravens. And you've got the Ravens minus 3.5. They are at the Chargers. Again, we've established the Chargers don't have home games. But that's the Sunday night game. So they're in prime time. Tell me why you think they'll actually win a primetime game.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson's really just been having a rough time late in games. It seems like they'll be kicking ass, and then shit'll get weird, which is a big reason that you don't like the hook here at 3.5. That being said, I think that you're about to start seeing people jump off the proverbial ship down there in LA. And it's not really a good look, I don't think, when Brandon Staley gets up in the press conference trying to defend his ass and not kind of throwing people under the bus that are players on the team. So Bosa's out moving forward for their defense. So I think that the Ravens have absolutely zero trouble executing what they want to do on offense. And when you give the Ravens defense a lead, that usually works out pretty well. So I see this as good opportunity to fade the Chargers, and also with the total being at 47, I do think that with the Ravens' propensity to run the ball, they might have some longer drives and have a little bit fewer possessions. Don't think that San Diego gets above 20 points here, so that's why I lean the total being under as well in the primetime game. So go Blackbirds.
Yeah. Brandon Staley is probably going to be on a voice call with Ron Rivera and talk about what it's like to be fired after Thanksgiving. They lose. He's got
Eating cold turkey sandwiches.
Yeah. Who knows? They are the Chargers. They're going to charge. He loses this game. How do you not fire him, promote more to see what he has, because he potentially could be poached. I'd have to fact check myself, so I'll be a little vague with it. The Ravens have only trailed, I think, 30 minutes real game time this entire year, which is crazy. Even if the Chargers do get out to a lead, they sure as hell ain't going to keep it. That's just what they do. They did open at 4. It's now down to 3.5. I think that's a little buyback in prime time, thinking under, and points are going to be a premium. But the official crew here, they're very profitable for the favorites against the spread, 7-3. And they play unders, and it's a primetime game. If I were to play this game, I would tag along with what you said. The under, but the only side to the game would be the Ravens. They're going to run the ball. They're more explosive. It'll be interesting to see how efficient the offense is without. Oh hell, I'm having a brain fart here. But the tight end, he's done for the year. He was the big focal point of their offense. Tight ends don't want to hear it, but honestly, some of them are plug and play. Some of it's scheme based, and they just happen to be. Angels came to me. Every week, I'm always looking at a Chargers game, and this week again is no different. It's always good, profitable to fade the Chargers. Every now and then you can catch them with a decent number, but with how much talent this team has, it is crazy how terrible they are. They were a couple drop passes away from beating the Green Bay, but they just find a way to lose games. It's like they game plan, how are we going to lose this week? Maybe they're having an internal gambling ring, shaving points or something, but it's like I said, the Ravens are much better coached. If you want to say talent's equal, perhaps, but the Ravens got much better defense as well. I don't know if you've seen Eckler. He looks slow. I think he's very talented, but I think he might have lost a step. I would probably lean the under. I don't even know what it's at, but I don't see the Chargers being able to do much.
It's 47.
Oh, under, definitely. Especially in the prime time.
Yeah, big number for prime time. The Andrews piece does definitely concern me with the Ravens, but I think that all leads all the more to the under. He's got 6 receiving touchdowns on the year, and that's twice as much as anybody else on the Ravens. So the fact that they're going to run the ball so successfully, though, against the Chargers That's why I don't have a whole lot of concern there. But if you can find that Lamar Jackson player prop under 2 passing touchdowns, that might be a good place to land as well, because they're likely going to feed their backs and maybe get Zay Flowers the ball. But, Zay Flowers can also score on a jet sweep or something like that. So,
Yeah,
go
to that,
Blackbirds.
I was playing around and I should have done a little more homework, but their backup running back, help me out. Drawing a blank here. I'm thinking Elijah Mitchell, but I know it's not him. But he reminds me a lot of Elijah Mitchell with the Niners. Keaton Mitchell. I would anytime touchdown for him. I think he's going to have. In fact, going player props, I haven't even looked at it, but I would take probably his over on damn near anything with a touchdown. I think he's explosive. They're probably going to go a little more run heavy than they have this year. But hell, it was 2-3 weeks ago. Lamar Jackson had like 0 stat line, and they put up 38 points. Like, they do have explosive weapons. It's not so much Lamar based anymore. I don't see. The more I talk about this game, I would definitely trend the under, because the Ravens are not going to give up more than 23. Even that being said, I could see a 23-17 kind of game, maybe even a little uglier. Like I said, the prime times, at some point it's going to come back, but prime times have been damn near the most boring games to watch because bright lights, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Who wants to watch the Ravens play the Chargers? I don't know. Not me.
Yeah, but you're a Steeler homer. I think it'll be, on paper, it's a good game, but I can see it now. Herbert's going to be running around with his 6-inch finger. He's going to be running for his life. He'll probably pad some stats. I would say Keenan Allen probably gets a touchdown as well. So those are your 2 anytime scoring touchdowns. But yeah, I think it's going to be a ugly, beautiful game, I guess.
I'll be, we're all subject to watch when it's the only game on. Moving on to your next pick that you threw in there, Titans. They're at home against Carolina, and you're taking the under.
Yeah, I kind of touched on a little bit. I know I got the total at 37.5. I don't think there's a huge discrepancy as far as under 38 totals. I mentioned anything under 37 with the Pittsburgh game is 19-4 to the under. Panthers can't score. Titans looked ugly, but Sunshine might do that to a few teams. This might be worse. This might be the worst game. I'm looking through the list here of games to watch. There's nothing to really like. That's why I don't think it's either going to be both teams in the 30s or 12-10 final here. I don't even know what the line is, but it was an easy, quick under bet. Mostly because Carolina does play relatively decent defense. And the Titans typically are well coached as far as on the defensive end. Let's see if I'm talking out of my ass here as far as totals. The official crew, they're an under crew, just by game, so nothing too big there. They do love home teams, so it kind of plays into. I think the Titans are going to be able to control the game flow. They'll probably get a play action pass, or if there's a prop for a Henry touchdown pass, I would play around with that because I think they're going to have to get creative and do some dumbass shit like that. But like I said, might be the ugliest game on the slate. So naturally, I bet it.
Well, now I want to tune in just for the Henry touchdown throw prop bet. But betting public, tell us more about this pick, and do you agree with it? Do you not?
Hammer the fuck out of this under. You got Will Levis looking like trash, and Bryce Young, and they got to put up 5 touchdowns between them or more to hit this. So, not a fucking chance.
Yeah,
What if
like I said,
each of them throw a pick six?
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say. Like, even their defenses aren't that explosive. Side note, and I have to give props. Your boy Bland for the Cowboys has more receiving touchdowns than a whole bunch of high-profile receivers, which is crazy. I mean, he's the benefit of, trying to hit him because he does have glaring weaknesses, but man, he is making them pay, taking that shit to the house.
He's doing everything that you would have expected Trayvon Diggs to do, having Stephon Gilmore on the other side, who's such a great technique corner. So that frees up the other guy to be a little bit more aggressive. Some of these passes that DeVon Bland had picked off, like I think, one of them was, holy shit, DeVon Bland was open, but he's not on your team, right? That style throw. But he's been making some good plays, and his aggressive style has been paying off really well, which might surface again this weekend.
Yeah, I could see it.
It's possible, but most of Hal's picks are throwing deep shots. He's taking them big shots. He ain't trying to throw it out and have it go 80 yards the other way. And I will come back. The Patriots and Giants are playing, so that is the ugliest game on the slate by far. But Panthers-Titans, very close.
Jeez, some terrible, terrible games this week, huh? This one, the Philly versus Buffalo game, you're taking the under 48 and a half, excuse me. That should be a decent game to watch. That's the afternoon slate on Sunday, so at least there's one good game there.
Yeah, it is. I think it's going to be a good game to watch. But I think that Philly's defense keeps us a little tighter scoring affair, and the Bills, like they had one good game after firing their offensive coordinator. But I don't think that the Jets are anything that we should be learning from, considering the fact that they probably fucking quit about a week ago and are all well aware that their situation is dire. So here, 48 and a half, quite a bit of points. Eagles coming off a nice road victory. I think they continue to carry the momentum, keep a tight game. And Buffalo, low 20s finish. So I'll take the under.
You make me so proud. I couldn't agree more with you. I don't have this yet. Flirted with it, but absolutely. Sean, Mr. Bicep, Hockley, of his 10 games, 8 of them have gone under. of that, 8 of the favorites have won. So he plays it by the vest. He sure as hell ain't gonna want to piss off the Philly fanatics out there. It is going to be a tough spot for the Eagles. But like I said, these guys are professionals. There is a little to it. It's more prevalent in the college slate, but the Bills still aren't that explosive. And honestly, the Eagles aren't that explosive either. If you eliminate the Giant games, the Commander games, which were back and forth, but their defense, which I guess doesn't help my argument here, but they're not the juggernauts. Well, I don't want to throw slander at them too much, but they're not what you would necessarily expect. Like, I still think the Niners are a better team with a worse record. They had that bad streak. At some point, the Eagles are going to lay an egg, which does help the unders. I just can't touch Buffalo. I don't know what they're – like you said, they played well against the Jets, but the Jets had like 20 yards offensively until right now. Like I said, when Tim Boyle has to come in and he has more career interceptions coming out of UConn than he does completions, and I'm joking there, but it's pretty substantial. That I don't understand how he's an NFL quarterback, but I wouldn't take that much out of the Jets game as I would maybe Kansas City. I think it's going to be I hate to say it, I actually think Philly, even coming off a tough game, is probably going to pretty much control the game flow. The Bills are just not who they're not the score a touchdown in 6 seconds against the Chiefs a couple years ago in the playoffs to lose. Like, they've been in a decline. It'll be a fun game to watch, but I think long-winded, the total is the only way to play the side, or as far as the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think everything that was stated about the total earlier, spot on.
And that's a great fucking segue with that Tim Boyle slander to the final NFL pick on our slate, which is Dolphins laying 10 points against the Jets. And this is, by all intents and purposes from my end, an absolute fade of the Jets and Tim Boyle, and the fact that I don't think they're going to fucking score 10 points, and you're not holding the Dolphins under 20. So how the hell is that not a cover for the Dolphins is what I'm asking here. So Mike McDaniel, don't let me down, man. Play a bunch of fucking Legos this week. Get yourself prepared. Go fucking execute.
Play Legos? Is that a clip you're referencing? That's hilarious.
McDaniel, that's one of his good ones. They were asking about prepping him for Bill Belichick and facing Bill Belichick, and he's like, facing Bill Belichick, I play fucking Legos and I got a girl to marry me. That's hard. Like, facing Bill Belichick, that's whatever.
Oh, I do remember that now. That's fucking hilarious. But he literally looks like a guy who plays Legos. So
I'm telling you, he is a guy who plays Legos, and I think that's gonna lead them to victory.
But his story's so fucking cool. I root for him every game.
Yeah, do that, because I have to watch it damn near every time I watch a Commanders game. The juggernaut crew that Jay Gruden had, you would have thought they were the greatest thing in the world. They had Mike McDaniels, Sean McVay, Houston Texans OC now, which I didn't even know. He was a defensive assistant. That's how well ran the Redskins were at that point. LaFleur. So essentially, they had 4, will be 5 head coaches on a staff, and they didn't make the playoffs. But going into this, I flirted with this too, cause for the same idea the public has here. My concern can't really be quantified, I guess. It's going to be cold. I'm not going to say that changes much, but I know Tua does struggle in the cold.
He's a Hawaiian brother.
Yeah.
Island boy.
Like I said, they do still play good defense in New York. But at some point when your season is dwindling, you're really going to give it your all. I'm not saying they're not, but, when you would lay out or you would power through some stuff because you're competing, I think they're starting to trend in the direction that, it's over. We don't have Rodgers coming back. Still don't have a quarterback. They can't even run the ball that good anymore, obviously, because there's no threat of the pass. Maybe addition by subtraction, get rid of Wilson. It's not like they're replacing him with a backup that has a track history.
That's what I'm saying. Even if
Yeah.
it's addition by the subtraction,
Yeah.
how much is the addition?
No, I agree. Actually, watching the Dolphins Sunday gave me pause because I don't know if they went on cruise control or maybe some of the shines were running off. Maybe the Raiders are just playing that much harder for Pierce. Outside of that Tariq Hill touchdown that he literally outran 5 guys, it was very impressive. It was a slant route. Well, it was more of a mid-post. He outran 5 guys for a touchdown.
Yeah, he weaved through half of their defense.
Yeah.
It was very impressive. But I agree. I don't know if I agree, but what you were saying, like, I thought as I was watching that game, the Raiders just looked really good.
And honestly, I couldn't bring myself to decide if they looked good or the Dolphins played bad. The idea of going up and playing in the cold, laying a big number, like I said, if you don't score, the big number is not that big of a number. It's just when things get chunky or off script, you're kind of like the Lions against the Bears last week as well. So I wouldn't touch it other than either the under, because I don't think they're going to put 70 up. If I had to, Dolphins would be the side. Like I said, it's such a gross number. You can't really tease it down because you're still not getting below the critical number. You never tease a total. And it's a primetime game. Yeah. If I had to make a bet, it'd be the under. Don't even know what it's at. Don't care. Primetime, Jets, under. Sign me up.
At 41, so I know that reinforces what you're going to say. So, because even with the Bills whooping that ass last week, they ended up at 38 when it was 32-6. So, same type of shit could happen in this game.
All right. That wraps up our NFL. Moving on to a college lightning round. I know Zesty didn't throw any college picks our way, but Betting Public offered us some lovely, lovely college picks. Do you want to roll through those quickly? Or
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll just go through. We'll go through pretty quick on these. I don't have a whole lot to back them. Just saw some numbers that stuck out to me, and unfortunately got alerted to the falling of a unicorn in Iowa. So the fact that they do have their corner out for the game, I was not aware of prior to putting this on the sheet. But I think Iowa against Nebraska, getting 2.5 points, even on the road, they can pull this out. That being said, they did have to squeak it the fuck out against Illinois last week, so a little bit scary there. And over 26. Eventually, these ridiculously low totals are going to get hit. I know we said that too, probably at the Service Academy game. This seems to follow a similar pattern there in Iowa. But I think that the over 26 ends up looking pretty decent. Zesty, you got anything on that one?
Yeah. So I'm very high on Matt Rule, probably higher than I should be. I do think he builds programs. I've been a fan of him since Temple. Nebraska is terrible. This is essentially, there's a few things going for Nebraska outside of the injuries you've mentioned. They win, they get a bowl, whatever, 6-6 participation trophy bowl game. I don't know. Apparently, it matters to kids. And the bigger thing is beating a rival at home that isn't ranked. -2 smells fishy as can be. Somebody's chumming the waters. I tend to agree that it was 4 straight Iowa unders, and they keep setting records. I agree that I think this is another chumming of the water to get money on the under. Now you got to have some balls to think they're going to score some points. I think 2 of the last 3 games has been damn near scoreless at halftime or some shit with their. So you're going to have to be a degenerate to take that side. But I do think this is one of the cases that makes no sense for it to go over. But I mean, we're flirting with college hockey scores here, so at some point you got to, string along a little bit of points here. So
it was 2-3 for a while last week. So
I know.
Call it hockey, call it baseball.
Tell me this: Iowa wins this game 10-7 or something. The under hits. They're in the Big Ten game against whoever, Michigan or Ohio State, right? What's the fucking total in that game? 33?
Yeah, something like 30, 33.
Yeah, it's
Does
going to be
Michigan's defense no slouch?
No, it's going to be
Michigan.
Team total is what it's going to be. Whoever they play. If it's Ohio State, it's going to be higher. If it's Michigan, it's going to be literally Michigan's team total.
Yeah.
So if it's Michigan, it might be like 28.5.
Yeah.
If it is under fucking 30 in the goddamn Big Ten title game, that is going to be so fucking embarrassing, and I can't wait for it.
It might hit.
It might.
I would go on a limb and say if Michigan plays Iowa, which I think Iowa's in it regardless on that side. I think Michigan shuts them out, to be honest with you. It would be literally Michigan's team total would be the total.
I'm with you. Yeah, no, and I think it leads to the next segue. I do have Michigan against Ohio State at 3.5. I think Michigan is on that fuck everyone energy right now, and that is always good energy to have going into a rivalry game, rather than the kind of chicken shit energy that I get the feeling Ohio State has, which is, oh, they're fucking cheaters, fuck them. And I would much rather be taking Michigan's quarterback in this game than I would Ohio State's quarterback. So give me the Harbaugh-less Wolverines to beat the fuck out of those Buckeyes.
Yeah, what a difference a couple years makes, and a couple cameras, I guess. But Michigan used to be bullied by
And no CJ Stroud.
yeah. Michigan used to be bullied by equally cheating Ohio State. They just didn't get caught. I guarantee you they were doing some scandalous shit, whether it was before the NIL or any of that. You're telling me people just want to come to Columbus? Like, obviously they got a prestige program, but they were running some things as well. Michigan had a prestige program. They can get anybody. So give me a break. We talked off air about this. I didn't put it in the sheets, but I do have this game. I actually have Michigan -4. That's what it opened at. I think there's too much love for an idea of a popular team in a rivalry to go to the playoffs, to the championship. Michigan is so much better than them in so many different categories. And I guess I should have fact-checked myself, but they honestly might be able to run the ball all game long and still win and cover. Like, they do a good job of bullying Ohio State, as we saw in the Notre Dame game. They're a little sensitive. They don't like being called soft. Ryan Day, don't come at us here, but they are soft. Their quarterback is atrocious. Like, which I guess that's rude.
Which is a shame because they have one of the best wide receivers in the country.
That's what I'm saying.
If not the best.
Yeah, he's got so many weapons that he could just chuck it up, and they're going to make him look good, and he still doesn't look that great against lesser competition. Obviously, there's going to be electricity. They're going to be hyped. Marvin Harrison is a dude. Like I said, it's my sirens went off in my head when I saw 4. I was like, oh, that you're kind of fishing for an Ohio State bet, which the line has came that way. I get it, I guess. But like I said, their defense is much better than Ohio State's offense. And that's how I see the game playing out. They're going to punch them in the mouth, and I don't know if Ohio State has a counter. Now, I'm rooting for a good game. I want to be entertained, but could care less. If I'm on the Wolverines, I pitch a shutout. But that's how I see it. Then they're going to come back, and then they're going to go to the college playoffs with Harbaugh, and everybody's going to be like, ooh. So I do believe with the public, it is Michigan against the world, especially when they're like, oh, we're going to ban you game day. We're not even going to show up, which is ridiculous. They're going to show up. But I don't know if you guys seen that, but they threatened ESPN because they were talking slander. Oh, yeah. There was a couple of reporters or something that was talking slanderish about Michigan. That they said, oh, we're going to boycott you guys. We're not going to show up to game day, which is dumb. ESPN will pay people to show up, but
go ahead, don't show up. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Still the biggest game in the country this week. So go ahead and not cover it.
Yep. No, I agree. I think the Wolverines are on that fuck you program, and it's time. So, but we will move over to the West Coast, and this is a game that I've always had a fun time watching. The old Civil War, Oregon State and Oregon. They are in Corvallis, I believe, and no, shaking his head.
Oregon.
They are in Eugene, the huge. And that is, I think, a big reason why uh, Oregon State is laying 13 and a half points here. Or I'm sorry, getting 13 and a half points here. The total's at 62 and a half. I think that this game plays a lot closer than 13 and a half. That being said, Oregon could hit a couple big plays, put it away. But I think the script of this game ends up looking a lot closer to Oregon State having enough ball control and enough time of possession to keep the score low, keep the game tight. And I think that lends itself to the under 62 and a half. And Oregon State, I'll lay the 13 and a half. But Oregon is a high-powered offense and has a good defense. So a couple breaks their way. Tell me how it could go really wrong.
Yeah, I wish I would have done the splits, but so Oregon State, they've been a little bit of my darling this year. Home and away splits are pretty different, especially in a rivalry game. Sometimes you can throw that out, but that's a cheesy method as far as analyzing the game. Oregon is just going to punch them in the face. Bo Nix, this is his Heisman step up, I guess. This is to clinch his Heisman. Oregon State does a lot of things really well, but when they're away from the rowdy confines of Corvallis, it's a little different. DJU plays a lot like Clemson DJU when he's away from home, and when he plays like top recruit when he's at home. Oregon wants to make a statement game. They got the Pac-12 championship against Washington. They're going to make a statement game there. This is their way to play in after losing to Washington. This is one of the reasons college football frustrates me is a really good team, potentially second best team in the nation, in my opinion, isn't even being talked about because they lost to Washington, which is a good team too. They're just like last week or this week, Washington's a dog. Must have been last week, but Oregon has so much more to lose that I think they're actually going to come out and stomp on them, truthfully. I think it's one of those lines that's like, oh, yeah, they're ranked. You see that little small number next to them, rivalry game. This game could be a track meet early. Oregon has way more explosive weapons. But like I said, it's not a knock on Oregon State. It's just I think very highly of Oregon and what they're running there. Plus, Dan Lanning is probably got some kind of media hype going on, just like he did against Colorado.
Yeah, I'll back you up with some stats here and maybe talk myself out of this one. Oregon State, like you mentioned, on the road, 2-2 this year, with their victories being against the vaunted San Jose State and Colorado Buffaloes, and the losses coming at Washington State and at Arizona. So when they have played a quality team, they've given up 38 and 27 points respectively. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm waffling a little bit more right now as well, but Civil War.
I will say San Jose State is actually pretty – they're not nearly the caliber of either one of those other teams, but don't sleep on San Jose State. I can't wait till bowl season.
Preview.
Well,
I don't know where we're at on the sheets, but I've got a few that I don't have listed, and I'm very – maybe you do have it listed. I don't know. I didn't have the chance to
Oh, you got I see you got Unlove and those Huskies. UNLV. Unlove.
oh, yeah, I got to remember who the hell they play. Basically, Vegas, they score points, and that was the idea on that one. But one I wanted to talk about that I know it's not listed, how you're not backing your boys in Florida against FSU.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was just going to.
Yeah,
Florida State.
Graham Mertz is hurt too.
well, hell, he's nowhere near what the offense is for Travis. This is what Florida State does. They could have had Travis too, but they haven't got the hype and love they have way back when. But historically, they would always shit the bed. I mean, they damn near did against Miami, but Miami. That's the other thing.
Miami's is not talented
But
enough.
yeah, I just don't understand it. Like, they must have been doing some real scandalous shit way back when in the Clinton Portis, fucking all those days to get those guys. Because how are they not competitive, and how is that not like a premier job? All the guys come out of Dade County.
They were doing shady shit. That's well documented.
Counterpoint, it's just everyone else is also doing shady shit now, so less incentive to stay in Miami.
What's the incentive to not stay in Miami? You want to go to fucking Columbus for another $10,000? Like,
I agree. That's what I don't understand either. I'm like, well, how do they not get great players and great coaches? It's Miami.
well, USC too, and even Texas. Like, I don't understand. It's possible there's just so much more talent that coaching is more prevalent, perhaps. But I mean, like, how do you not have a competitive team year in, year out? Florida State too. Like, in fact, I'm more impressed with Florida State because they're lesser of a school, I guess.
A name brand.
Yeah. So blows me away. But to the Florida State thing, this is almost scripted Florida State loss. Obviously, they just had their quarterback fucking break a leg or whatever he did. But even then, like, this would be one of the games that they do one of two things. They either blow them out and look like gangbusters and then just get demolished in the playoffs, or they shit the bed and then lose to Clemson in the ACC title game. I don't even know how it works. I haven't even looked that far ahead, but this is what Florida State does. If it's not now, it's in the title game against Louisville, is probably who they'll play now that I relook at it.
And because of what they do, the Gators are only getting 6.5. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that the Gators are at home, and I think Mertz is not like out of the game, but he's just banged up. So this definitely feels like a spot where getting the points with Florida seems like the way to play the line. just might be one that I stay away from as I quietly root for that outcome. But don't have the heart to lose money on it.
It's only because you don't want to jinx it.
Kind of, yeah. And Florida, although Florida's just so fucking weird. I mean, the reality is if they play as good as they did against LSU offensively, then they win this game outright. But if they play like they did against fucking Arkansas on defense, then even Florida State's backup quarterback can probably fucking drop 40 on them. So you never know.
Back to my Vegas analysis, because I do look into games before I bet them, even though I looked very unorganized when I talk about it. Very rarely will you hear me praise a 5-5 team like I did San Jose State. I watched them last week, and they actually cost me money because they came out like gangbusters. But their quarterback's playing really well. UNLV also, they're one of my late slate favorite games to bet. 58 just seems too short. I mean, both of these teams can score back and forth. And the line being, so it opened at 3, now it's 2.5. Like, so I don't know enough about San Jose State. I don't know if there was an injury beforehand or it's just clicking now, but the last 2 weeks I've watched them, they look like they beat Georgia. But so yeah, root for points. College, you root for points. Because anytime you take an under in college, you're usually pretty sad, unless it's a Iowa or Service Academy game.
What do we think about? Any thoughts on Georgia Tech? I think Georgia Tech's getting a lot of points.
Yeah, it's two different ball games. I've enjoyed Georgia Tech. They've got the transfer from Texas A&M, a quarterback. They've done a few cute covers, but no, it's two different ball games. I don't even know what the number is, but the rivalry is not big enough to add. Because I guarantee Georgia doesn't think it's a rivalry. Georgia's just going to go in there and do Georgia things. To that, I wouldn't touch it.
The number's 24, though.
Yeah, but to that, well, hell, 24 is easy to cover. I mean, hell, Georgia, what is what I was segueing into, is they're going to go relatively vanilla. It's nothing that Alabama doesn't know, but they're in the championship game. They're just going to win the game. Or they could be vanilla and win 38-7 and cover. Like, it's the rivalry is not both ways. It's not a give and take. It's just because they're both in the same state. There's this perceived rivalry. I mean, there might be a few local pridesmen that enjoy it, but Georgia is definitely expected to dominate, and it's not the rivalry you would think, because anybody on Georgia Tech would play for Georgia if they could. So
That is a lot of points, but I was looking at Georgia Tech. They do have some good wins against some good teams, but the one SEC school that they did face already was Ole Miss in Ole Miss, and they got beat by 25. So I just think Georgia can pretty close to shut them out here, and Carson Beck will just do enough they need to do. Plus, you mentioned earlier Georgia Tech, the style they like to play is spread them out on offense. that does not fucking work very well against Georgia when you're trying to have your offensive linemen win one-on-one matchups all game long against their fucking D-line and linebackers. So I'm looking at some scared quarterback running around for Georgia Tech and Georgia's defense making quick work of this one.
So another game that intrigues me a little bit because I'm a degenerate. Very curious. Air Force, Boise State in Boise there. This is a bowl game for Boise. Win and you're in. But they're 6.5 point favorites at home against what was a really good defense. Air Force has help. They might be on a 3-game losing streak. I think they lost their starting quarterback. I think I might have to back Boise. I'd have to look into it a little more, but very weird line for the leader of the Mountain West. They had a very good defense. And a lot of that's offensively based, that they limit the opposition's possessions, but that's another one that feels a little chum in the waters there to take some points with Air Force. Should have had a little better analysis on that, but that's kind of how I see that game.
I'm with you. Falcons have been struggling.
Yeah.
Before we go, any thoughts, personal interest on this game? The betting public has Utah, Colorado.
Correction, the betting public has Utah, Colorado, fucking Utah money line against one of our, Federale brothers, also known as Ranger Rick. So this is easy money here. We don't think Shedeur is going to play. No reason for him to play. And Utah is going to wipe their ass with Colorado in what people are trying to make into a rivalry game, but really isn't. And there's just absolutely no way that I think Colorado even covers, because if Shedeur's not playing, then I don't know how they score. So
Yeah.
22 points right now.
Yeah, I would go back and do. We've had this conversation a handful of times, and that's dating myself, but that's one of the reasons I thought Nebraska would have covered. But Colorado can't stop anybody. Once you get hit in the mouth, I think they are soft. But once you hit them in the mouth, you realize, oh, they are soft. And then, everybody likes the hype and the glamour and all that other shit, but they're soft. I don't care if Shedeur was playing; I would still take the points. Or as far as lay the points, I guess. Utah and Colorado are just two different teams. Even though our friend Ranger thinks he's the greatest coach in the world because he markets himself, I agree. But Kyle Whittingham is a head coach. He knows how to run a program. He disappoints us sometimes, but I promise you it's going to be a beatdown, and he's going to flex. And who knows, he might take one of them 2-star recruits from Dion to train him up. Have another 7-year personnel with a double knee brace there. I can't believe he's been in the league 7 years. There's people that have been drafted and out of the league since his first snaps at Texas.
Billy Cam doesn't even need to play.
Looking at the slate before I let you guys go. Another one that intrigues me a
Speaking of
little.
Texas, I bet you Texas doesn't cover 14 points against Texas Tech this week. Just saying. Just one of those games. Like every year they play stupid against Texas Tech. I don't know if it's like, oh, we all play in Texas and it's just an extension of our high schools playing against each other. But again, like a familiarity thing. But and Texas is good, and Texas Tech is not that good. I'm not saying they shouldn't cover. I'm saying don't be surprised if they fuck around and let Texas Tech stay close.
They sure let Iowa State fuck around last week and made my heart burn. So
I think Iowa State's a little better than Tech, but still 14 points is what it's at right now. So
Yeah, I must be
something to
looking
think about.
at the wrong. I thought I saw 12 and a half. Either which way, I do. That was one I was going to talk about. Texas Tech is not Texas Tech of old. Where is it? They are very weird. They're almost like a ball control offense now versus, what we all love with the spread. So, yeah, it is at 13, open at 12 and a half. So there is Texas love. I agree. This is one of those trap games, I guess. Like I said, Texas Tech with a win, they get bowl eligible. If not, they're not going to the bowl. Texas, I believe, is in the championship game. Obviously, Texas has everything to lose here. They have aspirations to get into the playoffs with some help. So, yeah, I don't think I would flirt with it, but yeah, it's about as Texas gets from our lifetime that they would lay an egg here, and they might win late, but they might not be as dominant as you would expect.
That's
And
all I'm saying.
yeah, the other two games that I've kind of flirted with, Louisville, Kentucky is a little interesting. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of love. I've caught myself watching Louisville quite a bit, but so the defense that was once very good, like after I think of NC State that they struggled with or even lost outright with, they've kind of trended the other way. In Kentucky, they're going to run the football. They're going to give him the ball 40 fucking times. And I think 7 might be a little much because this is a true rivalry game, even though they're separate conferences. Louisville essentially, I don't want to say has nothing to play for. They're going to be in the championship game anyway. They don't have title aspirations. Kentucky needs a win to get to bowl eligible. It might get, I could see it getting a little weird in Louisville there.
Yeah.
And then LSU minus 11. I hate backing big numbers, but Texas A&M's a little bit of a wreck. They had the good story that they beat whatever dog shit team they played last week. They paid Jimbo $76 million to not show up to work. LSU is just more talented. I guess technically it's a rivalry game, but LSU doesn't play defense, but they play a lot of offense. So I can see Jaden Daniels getting some love from Kelly to potentially get a Heisman spot
that's
at
what
the
I'm
state
thinking.
there. 11's not at home. It's an early game, so that hits a little different. But I don't think 11's I sure as hell wouldn't back Texas A&M, even though I do think they did at one point have a decent defense. LSU is just gonna put on a show. That's what LSU does. They're gonna go 8-3, probably losing the bowl game because everybody sits out. But I probably am gonna take that game. Don't trust Texas A&M, so what's the big thing there? Wild Kitties. We didn't talk Bama, Auburn. I don't care. It is a rivalry. Not taking 14 points against Bama. Probably won't touch the game, but Auburn could have all the motivation in the world, and they're still not going to. I don't even know if they score 14 points. So, yeah, roll Tide. Another cute one. This is a really cute, ugly game that I'm sure you guys are all over. Northwestern, Illinois.
Oh, all over it.
All over it. I'm sure you guys are going to be glued to the seats here.
Every fucking week with the Illini. I don't know what is your kink with the Illini.
I don't know. For some reason, I just find myself.
No, you missed on them.
Yeah. Northwestern is covered. I think they have the longest streak of covers in college football. Like 5 or 6 straight weeks. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Northwestern. I haven't watched the game.
Well, I'll tell you what is happening. They slap each other with their dicks preseason, so that way in season they don't get slapped by anybody else's dicks because they've already been dick slapped.
Yeah. And Illinois has flipped the switch. They went from like 0-5 or 0-6 against the spread to now they're playing ball. I probably won't touch this game, but 6 for Northwestern is very interesting. They are playing really good football. And Illinois has pissed me off, so I don't want to bet them because anytime I bet them, they seem to be my what the hell?
Yeah, let me know if you do bet them so I could fade.
Kryptonite, yeah. Well, yeah. If I did bet, I would take Northwestern, but that's a rivalry game too. That I might have to take some Wild Kitties. Ooh, another super.
Go dick slappers.
Yeah, another super ugly game. I won't touch unless I get a super board. But Wisconsin, Minnesota. Fuck, that total might be 20 points. But yeah, no, Minnesota's on my never to bet again list, so never mind.
Half of our audience of 5 just dropped off as we dipped back into the fucking Big Ten, by the way.
Right.
Who the hell else is on your do not bet list?
Clemson. I think I would back the 7 against South Carolina. South Carolina doesn't have much to play for. Clemson has kind of righted the ship there. And fuck South Carolina. I used to like to bet them, and then they kept shit in the bed. Yeah, we're getting into our later slates here. Oh, these are future, I guess, since I'm here. Championship futures odds. Louisville, Florida State. Louisville's catching 5. Might be a 5.5. Might be worth a sprinkle, and then Bama's getting 5 in the SEC championship game. But that's all I got for you fellas. Not much on the college slate, just a little analysis. But
That's kind of a dead week in college leading up to the title game besides some of the big rivalries. But we have been doing pretty well of late, and hopefully we continue to make some money, at least enough to keep us around next week. And we will be back at it again.
Take it